What's up, Barefoot Nation? Today I'm going to give you guys the how and the why of growing your own banana plants from seed. Let's go! So it should be addressed as far as why it's advantageous in some cases to grow bananas from seed as opposed to buying plants. Well, if you live in a marginal climate like Zone 6 or even Zone 7 in many cases, growing bananas from seed is going to give that plant its entire life living in your area to, be adapted to cold and or, it's not going to mean that you don't have to protect it, but it gives you that genetic variance, which is actually kind of the next point, which although it's extremely rare, you do have the opportunity with seed-grown plants to have a mutation and have a totally unique plant that no one has. Again, it's super rare, but it can happen. And in addition to that, it's super rewarding to watch this little thing grow into a living plant, and then to grow that on and have that plant in the future potentially produce seed itself. Just as a gardener, it's super rewarding to have that happen. And it also is going to teach you patience. Bananas are they take a ridiculously long amount of time to germinate, mainly because they need the heat. Starting them inside, if you can't provide the heat, they need like a south-facing window and a heat mat and lots of water. You basically need to recreate tropical conditions, but we'll get into all that in the video. So basically your seeds are going to arrive something like this. In this case, this is Musa ornata. I also do have some Enset ventricosum seeds. You can see the difference in true bananas and the Enset and how different the seed is. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to want to soak these, because if you notice, these things are super dry and they need to kind of start soaking or imbibing water, before they can grow. You probably want to soak these seeds for 2 to 3 days. And then what you'll notice here, the other thing I wanted to point out, these are Musa velutina seeds. Now, I just wanted to point out how similar the Musa ornata seeds look to the velutina. Basically identical. So I just find it really interesting how closely related they are. I don't think if I mixed the ornata and the velutina seeds that you'd know the difference without genetic testing or whatever. And so as you can see, all of these seeds are floating. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to germinate. All that it means is that they're older. And then, of course, one of the most important parts is making a label for your seed. So I get these labels off Amazon. And the labels are super helpful, especially since I showed you earlier that I'll be germinating some old Musa velutina seed along with these ornata seeds, and they look so similar. It's going to be important to keep them separate and well labeled so that they don't get mixed up, because you would probably not be able to tell them apart until they flower or, a lot later in their lives. I'm also going to put this on my heat mat so that while the seeds are soaking, the water stays warm. I don't think that's necessarily essential, but it's certainly going to help. All right, and so it's been a few days, I think about 4, I lost count to be honest, but you can see that a bunch of the seeds have fallen to the bottom and have started to soak in water, and a bunch of them are still floating. So I'm going to plant all of them regardless of the fact that they are still floating, although those are the ones that are more likely to not germinate. I'm going to put these with my camellia seeds that you guys will see later in the video. I'm just going to use these little peat pellets that you soak. I used water from my koi pond to soak these. And just like I mentioned earlier in the video about balancing the sanitizing with chemicals and the organic practices of, having soil life present, I think that's a perfect balance of using pond water to make the peat pellets swell, but also sanitizing the tray with the cleaning products to kill pathogens. I'm curious down in the comments how you guys would go about that balance between sanitizing for pathogens and encouraging the beneficial soil organisms. Okay, so the next step after your seeds have soaked, I'm going to plant my NSET seeds right now because they've been soaking already for a few days. In addition to that, NSET bananas need as much of a head start as they can get to germinate because they take forever. I mean, literally, guys, I planted some NSET seeds in February, thought they were duds, forgot about them. They germinated in August. I was like, what's that banana looking thing coming out of my oak sapling? I had used the soil from that to pot up an oak tree. Now, the next step I should mention is something that I've started to do since mosaic virus has been an issue for me, is I'm now going to be sanitizing all of my horticultural equipment. So before filling this flat with soil, I sprayed this top and bottom twice with 409 spray and I cold treated it, but the cold treating is questionable in its efficacy. But I sprayed this twice with 409 so that any potential pathogens, this and the lid, I sprayed with 409 to, in my case, Lysol would work too, or any, cleaning product to kill any potential pathogens. And then I rinsed it and then I filled it with soil. And again, I mean, you need to strike a balance between having microbiology and killing viruses. All right, and so basically all you're gonna do, you can see that I've planted these two already. I put those two with this part down, but this one I'm gonna plant on its side. If you're unsure with planting a seed, or a bulb for that matter, just plant them on their sides, and generally the seed or the bulb will figure out which way is up and down. And I mean, literally, you're just going to be kind of, in the case of bananas, they don't want to be planted deeply. And although these NSET seeds are big, and ideally they would be in a deeper tray, this tray, which I think is from VivoSun, did a fantastic job with the Musa velutina seeds that I germinated in 2019. So I'm going to use this again for most banana plants. And then after that, what I'm going to do, I don't have any compost now, but I'm going to just sprinkle a little bit of compost just to cover the tops of the seeds. I should mention too that this media is pre-moistened, and also, as you can see, I've got the start and finish labels made for the plants. And another reason to have multiple labels is because you want to have tags for your plants once they sprout. Now is a perfect time not only to start banana seeds, but as you can see here, I've got some hardy camellias that I'm starting from seed here as well. February is a great time, and March is a great time to get your plants that take a long time to germinate started, so that by the time they do go outside, they already have had some time to grow, and chances are they've at least sprouted. Alright guys, I hope you learned something, and I hope that now you guys have a better idea of how to germinate your own banana plants from seed. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up. And if you want to see more content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. And of course, I want to hear from y'all. What species of banana plants do you plan to grow from seed? Alright y'all, catch you on the next one. Peace! I think it strikes a good balance of sanitizing this tray with the pond water, and also, there's a Freudian slip.